All right. Well,
Brand Brothers alive.
Gentlemen.
Here we are.
If we can all try to do the intro at the same time, that's perfect. Do you want to just every time you try to talk, I'm just going to hop in. Is that cool?
No, go ahead, Oren. Give us the intro.
Oh, no, I'm good. I actually have nothing to say. I'm just trolling.
Well, the Brand Brothers are all over the place this week. Flying by the hair of our chinny chin chin. We debated actually pushing this, but of course not. We are here for the people. We have been persistent.
We
nothing
persevere.
Else. Indeed.
Yeah, we decided, look, in the group chat, we noted that all of us have very little in common, technically. But the one thing we have in common is ultimate perseverance and just, and a refusal to not continue to put out content every day and every week. So here we are.
That's right. And absolute psychos. I believe that I share in common with y'all that we just can't go to the store and purchase an item. We must do full brand analysis every time we go. As recently as this morning, I think Ashwinn is in CVS, just unable to actually get what he needs.
I had to get home. We had a friend waiting to get into our apartment, and so I had 15 minutes to get home. Okay, I stopped 4 times, took pictures of 3 window displays, went into CVS. What was supposed to be a 3-minute exercise in there was like 15 minutes looking at brands, commenting on how they lock up all of their merchandise. Everything takes me, at least 2 times as long.
Absolutely.
Now it's like when I do rebrand videos, like my wife's friends are commenting because I always do like the babe wake up, and they're like, hopefully no municipality adjusts their colors in the next, it's just like.
What do we find?
Speaking of that,
yeah, go ahead.
Do we want to hop right into Sizzler? I don't know if there's the ability to. So basically, look, all of us are noted critiquers of rebrands, but Sizzler, the steakhouse chain, all of us probably participated in childhood and lost in later life, has yassified, for lack of a better term, and have whipped out not just the rebrands for the restaurants, but some rebrands for their sauces, etc., with extensive background. There's a Fast Company article that this is the Sizzler we know and love, and then there is the new progressive brand rebrand we can pop up there.
Okay.
I believe there's a Fast Company
right
article.
Here?
It's the #1 source.
Okay. Let's get it.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, look at this. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, everyone's just like, beautiful.
But it looks like we're going for like it's like in and out branding more than
meets Chick-fil-A. They got a cow on the roof, which is very very Chick-fil-A. Honestly, underrated campaign. The underrated campaign is the Chick-fil-A like eat more chicken campaign that has like the rogue cow.
Yeah, it hits. It continually hits. We should actually we should talk about that next week.
So Ashwinn, look at this. Noted brand critiquer. How do you feel about what we're seeing on the Family Steakhouse? Do you think this can revive a struggling Sizzler franchise?
This is fresh. This is first looking at it reminds me of just all that Pizza Hut merch that came out a couple years ago. They did that vintage collection.
Classic
vintage and nostalgia is very in. I couldn't tell you the last time I saw a physical Sizzler location, so I'm curious where. I honestly haven't seen this.
You're too disconnected from the real America. Like, Ashwinn, have you ever been to a Piggly Wiggly? I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah. Sorry, it's not on the Upper West Side Highway.
Yeah. No, my bad. You've never been to a Buc-ee's. I'm just.
Yeah. I can tell you exactly the last time I saw a physical Sizzler, which was probably 1994. I
was hoping you were going to say we were over the Sizzler in Dallas last week, brother. Yeah,
no, 1991. 1991. I thought I was really high flying when my parents took us to Sizzler on a Friday night.
Okay, it appears they have 76 locations left in the United States. And they predominantly seem to be in Southern California, right?
Wow, Oren.
So he's kind of in the heart of Sizzler.
I'll take the family. I'll take the family to Sizzler in a heartbeat. I'm just saying. But look, here's one thing I did want to talk about with this. Like, right, they're getting the old diner vibe. They're bringing Sizzler into the new era. But I actually do think like the steakhouse, like the budget-friendly family steakhouse, as a concept, I feel like we've lost. We lost in the soy wars, for lack of a better term, right? Where everyone was like, we can't just be eating steak all the time. When in reality, maybe we probably should be eating steak all the time. So I do feel like the rebrand of the steakhouse that's like steak only, can't even get a side, vegetables. That's what you got. You're coming here, we're going to get you 75 grams of protein. You're out the door. I kind of feel like that might hit, especially in Southern California.
Just a collab with Liver King.
All day, sure. Yeah.
Liver King
Yeah. What,
collab.
Huberman House? Steaks?
Yep. Steak, Sizzler, how to get, but make sure you get the sunlight in your eyeballs.
What based personalities have S in the soul broth or Sizzler? I don't, all right, anyway.
I'm so confused about fast casual dining, like the pivot from steak to
click the sauce.
Fast. Yeah. The sauce is here.
Yeah. So look, I think for a brand in that state, doing something like this is something. It's solid. It's vintage. It's catchy. It at least is worth a conversation. If you read this article, they obviously put darn near too much thought and conversation into what they were doing, like with the branding for the state it is. But they revived a character. We all love a good character, But that's like, I feel like this is at least a positive attempt versus a negative attempt.
Is this a Abercrombie and Fitch turnaround for Sizzler? Time will tell.
Well, if that sauce is good enough. I'm saying maybe we're seeing the play into retail. Maybe we're expanding across categories.
How does this do on a grocery aisle? How's this guy?
I'm curious, like the steak sauce category in general. I'm not a steak sauce purveyor. Your boy's not out here endorsing big Worcestershire. So
not an A1 guy. Team A1 right here. Team A1 here.
I already knew Jordan was Team A1. Ashwinn, what are your thoughts on steak sauce? Over under?
No comments on steak sauce.
Ooh. Yeah. You got a sponsored post pending? Or?
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
I've got I'm in the pockets of big steak sauce. So
okay, so the character name is Ribby Ribeye, and the taste buddies. What I mean has something
sold.
So this is kind of interesting. This is kind of interesting. These characters. In the CPG world, especially, this was like a really popular kind of design trend from, you saw a lot of this like 2020, 2021, every brand kind of adopting a character in this style. And at least in that category, it felt a little bit played out. If you're working in CPG, if you have a CPG brand, you see all of these like pretty frequently. So there's kind of been a little bit of a move away from that. So it's interesting that they kind of like leaned into that character styling and those mascots, pull them in and they're like, hey, this is our brand. Not to say that, you can't make that type of thing timeless, but it was very trendy a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
All right. Well, and so what brands do you think, is throwing it out there for you guys, any staple brands you think should adopt a character? You think a character would really help them in the streets in these aisles?
So yes, my hard answer and not even hot take, cold take to that is yes. If you have a character, if you have a mnemonic, here's what I think my big takeaway is, you have to make your brand memorable. Like I say Aflac, what do you think of when I say Aflac?
Goose, brother.
Yeah.
Duck, bro, duck.
The duck and Deion Sanders and Nick Saban now.
It's like you got the Aflac duck, you have the Duolingo owl. Like when you can really tie a character or a mascot to the brand really closely, I think that just works for memorability and like taking up kind of mind space. But there's brands that'll just like throw in a character, but like it never becomes core to the brand or the story, or like, you have Ronald McDonald, but like has built over 50 years, it's like so intertwined. So I think it's valuable if they lean into it, but many of them are just like, hey, we have a character, we're fun and accessible.
Yeah. I mean, the character, I mean, it works when it works, and I do think, well, I was going to say like maybe Old Spice with a, what was the half horse, half man? Character.
You just came around and like turned it around, right? Made it kind of humorous and relatable, like in that.
I think it was truly the Centaur. I think just the Centaur concept.
The Centaur concept, yes.
Yes. Well, actually, I was thinking about this a lot because I was look. This is holiday season. I got a lot of sponsored content. I know young Schwinnebago feels me as well. Jordan, not sure what the sponsored lineup looks like, but I'm sure you'll be in pain here.
Just set one. Sent one 20 minutes ago.
We are all in the pain of having to make a lot of sponsored content stand out, which is fine, and it's an interesting creative challenge. But I made this big brainstorm list of like, what are all the things we could do? And one of the concepts was I wanted to do Little Orrin the way Shaq had Little Penny. And so last night I'm on Perplexity, and I'm like, how, Little Penny, how? And bro, Little Penny, and if you're not familiar with this, if you guys are too Gen Z, Penny Hardaway, who was at one point he washed out really quick, but was a relatively prolific athlete. He was on a team with Shaq. He had a little Penny that used in advertisements who was a puppet who was over the top. And but I Googled this. And I was like, okay, cool. How hard can it be to get a puppet made in today's era? And actually, it was super hard. They had the co-founder of Mythbusters built a pulley and lever system that allowed the puppet to operate. It required 8 puppeteers to execute Little Penny, and they had to execute in concert. And this is a Wyden and Kennedy project that a Wyden and Kennedy creative director kept getting rejected on. Like, she brought it up for other things and had it in her vault. And they finally were like, cool, we'll try Little Penny. And it blew up. But I would just like to say that they don't run stuff like that anymore. It's not like there's no creative director at Wyden and Kennedy who's like, can we run the puppet finally, please? Can we run the puppet? And then they're like, okay, great. Let's get the Mythbusters guy and 8 puppeteers and continue to run puppet campaigns throughout. And so I just want to shout out what a better era that was. If anyone can help me do Little Orrin in puppet format, please drop in the chat and we'll work from there.
Orrin, I've got a little inside baseball knowledge here. Wait. One of the creative directors at Wyden and Kennedy is this
has his own puppet.
Guy named Azad, and he does these claymations, and they're actually genius. They'll be. Oh, it is incredible. So he does
my man's got a Joel Embiid claymation.
Oh,
how have I missed this my entire life?
I mean, it is so funny and so niche, deeply.
Is this a Taco Tuesday claymation?
Yeah, he'll do
automatic voice message system.
Funny audio.
At the tone, please record your message.
Audio.
Oh, I need you, big dog boy. Look here.
Can you hear this?
Boy, I need you bad, man.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Shit, I need.
Anyway, it's just absolutely increvable. So he'll
to carry a gun. What are you gonna do?
On John Morant after he gets in trouble, or Kevin Durant driving the
John
bus.
Morant claymation. Yeah, we're hitting peak free time.
And so he's actually done. He doesn't do a lot for the actual advertisements and whatnot, but occasionally they will. I think they did one for Kendrick at some point with Wyden and Kennedy. But yeah, the dude just does it and is incredibly talented. So maybe you should hit him up. Get you a claymation Orrin. Could be incredible.
Yeah, we'll see. I have to build something now, but but Little Orrin maybe coming soon. With some hot takes, we'll see what happens.
Speaking of Little Penny, anyway, Penny Hardaway is getting sanctions in Memphis this week, which I happened to be looking up Little Penny earlier this week, but for different
Penny Hardaway was getting sanctions in Memphis?
He's the head coach at Memphis basketball, and the NCAA has slapped him with recruiting violations. But look, guys, I do think there's another opportunity to talk about characters in sport and others. Last night I was watching the NFL game, and Pepsi has a new character. Let me just play this for you. This is a teaser. So we have a hip hop version of "We Will Rock You." We have
football. It actually makes it a hip hop version. Sorry, we were chatting with no rabbit hole there.
Well, this is. I don't know what we've reviewed, but it's like a Gladiator 2 cross promo with the NFL. Travis Kelce. I can't make this up. This is Josh Allen, Travis. Running back from last night. Anyway, Matt Baller. These guys, I didn't see this extended version. There's Travis Kelce as a gladiator. There is Justin Jefferson as a gladiator. I'm so confused as the cross promotion of Gladiator 2 and the NFL and Pepsi and our latest. Oh my gosh. And Megg
the Stallion?
Yes, plot twist. Megg the Stallion is Caesar Augustus. And yeah, hilarity and
honestly, I think that this ad is incredible for the NFL demographic. I'm sold.
Yes, I think.
Say less. I'm buying Pepsi. As we go guess the lines on the Eagles.
Absolutely. How many How many people though have gone for the extended cut, the 3-minute version?
This is just apparently 1.5 million or only 99,000. See, Pepsi, what are we doing?
99,000 views.
Let's see. What is the top comment there?
Let's see. This must be the redo of the Pepsi Coliseum commercial from 2009.
Yeah. Shout out to advertising nerds on YouTube who are like, well, yeah. Actually, if you remember the reference from the 1987 campaign, which I appreciate because I aspire to that level of lore.
Coca-Cola, are you not entertained?
Yeah, this is very much Super Bowl era, Super Bowl style commercial. Walt
said Super Bowl commercial week 1. Is this what we're up for? Brands are just going to be like send it. They're calling in the agencies right now and being like, bring us your fever dreams.
Yes. I just hold on. But then also the intersection of "We Will Rock You," I'm just. She's doing a rap version of "We Will Rock You." Anyway, I don't know what to think anymore. Sometimes there's too many intersections of different.
There's too much shit going on.
Yeah,
it's a question of like, is the vibe right?
It's a vibe.
Yeah.
I actually think this is look, as far as advertising spectacle goes. I mean, you can't really get much better than whatever they're doing here.
It's true. It's true.
Does it convince you to buy a Pepsi though? Here's the thing: is I don't know what at this point could convince me to buy a Pepsi. If you're in target market, if you're like, I'm going to get a 17 pack of Diet Coke or however many they put in a package nowadays, and and like an 8-liter of Mountain Dew this weekend, does this influence your purchasing decision to crack that gorgeously rebranded can of Pepsi?
There's nothing you could do to convince me to buy Pepsi. I mean, at this point, to be honest.
As our Southern correspondent, do you feel like would this be impactful in your community?
Well, in our community, every can of soda is called Coke. So they've got a really.
That tells you all you need to know. No amount of Travis Kelce and Megg the Stallion can change culture.
I saw this like Southern talking head, and he talks about phrases from the South, and like you basically say like, "Hey, do you want a Coke?" Which means like, do you want some form of a carbonated beverage? And then you ask me what kind of Coke you want, like, Poppy or Olipop. Hey, do you want a Coke? Yeah, what kind? That was the thing growing up. I feel like that's actually kind of maybe dissipated now in our brand wars. But
Ashwinn in New York, is it like so everyone's like, "Oh, can I get a natty wine?" And then they hand you a Coke, or is it not? No.
The natty wine bars are the most highly trafficked bars.
Well, you actually trafficked at the U.S. Open last week or this past week, Ashwinn. I think you hadn't gone since we talked about it. I want to get a field report, but since we brought up the Centaur, I want to bring up one other campaign that I saw this week. So Dove has been
10 out of 10.
Trying to reach the men. Yeah.
10 out of 10.
Their newest full body deodorant is for all body parts, and it's a partnership with the U.S. Open. Nothing smells better than fresh balls. Every pair deserves a chance.
Every pair.
This is Manscaped's fault, but Manscaped loses so much money that no one should be implementing their strategy.
Well, this is like the Old Spice like strategy of just like full hilarity, like tongue in cheek, and it's being
Chris
run
in the
by
comments
Dove
said
now.
Touche, brother Chris.
Touche, brother. Well played, Chris. Well played. So good. Yeah. So 10 out of 10 on your account, Ashwinn. Give me the.
This is great copy. I always thought, the Dove Men Plus Care line has been around for quite some time. I probably saw it for the first time like 15 years ago or something. Yeah. I always thought it was a weird name, the Dove Men Plus Care. Don't know what's being said there. But yeah, I like this. I like the copy. It's speaks to a lot of guys. It's like funny. It's timely, ties in well.
I just thought whenever anyone wants to, speaks to a lot of guys. Like, if you want to appeal to guys, like we obviously have to make like a balls joke or have like a centaur or like, this is just like, or like Travis Kelce is a gladiator. That's like, here's your 3 choices, America.
So funny. You're so right. At Nike, I mean, At Nike, I used to joke, like after I spent a couple years in Nike Women's, and you go to like Nike Women's, and it was like, we were studying the Lulu customer and all this, and it was like, how do you show up for women? Well, you have to partner with an A-list celebrity, and then a B-list, and then you have to get someone in their feed, and then you need an affiliate, and then you need a fitness influencer, and you need to show up at the right retail, and you need to have experiences for her, and the packaging needs to be right. And it was like, how do you show up for men? Put it on Travis Scott, put it on Travis Kelce, call it good and go. Like you're done.
Are you saying that we need more bra representation in the writers' room? And I'm not just saying male representation. I mean like your boy, like the guy who you're like, do we really want to bring Kenny to Vegas? Like he needs to be in the writers' room,
Could be. And when in doubt, you just go for the balls joke, and it seems to work,
All right, what do we got next? Unless anyone wants to further critique the Dove Men's Plus strategy.
Well, yeah, Ashwinn, I'd love to hear your U.S. Open takeaways.
Yes, I just dropped a little video, hot or not, brands at the U.S. Open, what I saw going on. But let me pull up a couple pictures here of things that I saw.
While you're doing that, were you there on just a field trip, or any brand partners kind enough to bring you out?
No brand partners. Brought myself out. So completely unbiased perspective there.
Man said, brought myself out. You know what I mean? Sponsored by me.
What a concept. The Brand Brothers are available to live second stream from the US Open if anybody wants to holler at us.
That we will. First thing that we need to talk about is the US Open merch collection. They had hats. I love hats. I'm wearing a hat. I wear a hat every single day, right?
Yeah.
I'm so easily convinced to purchase a new hat.
Yeah.
There was not a single hat here that was interesting. And it's funny because there's this meme. There's like this New York Times headline. Did you even go to the US Open if you didn't buy a hat? And you look at the obviously US Open, is increasingly attracting a wider and wider audience and demographic. But going to the Open, I mean, you have this aspect of tennis, which is still kind of like very like elitist, kind of country club exclusive. And then you have this side of it that is like, more like rebellious and loud. And so you have kind of all of these, different styles like being represented in terms of like demographics and audiences being pulled in. And I'm just not seeing that in any of the merch. All of the merch is just like their logo, which is arguably quite whack. Just plastered atop like a yellow hat, a pink hat. And still there's like people buying it, but to just spend a little time, get a good designer, get some good merch made for this, it seems like it can pay fairly tremendous dividends.
Yeah, let me compare that to the Masters experience, Ashwinn. You did say, these are at least color coordinated. Yeah, everybody loves a Masters hat. Oh gosh, of course. But they at least have it well branded or at least color coordinated. Let's see, these look at least decent. They also more visible. I think like the one that you're showing, like they're all kind of tucked back into those cubbies where they're all like, shadowed. And at least here you have like bright colors. They're brought to the forefront. You can see from the top, what's available. It's at least the merchandising. Yeah.
I'm curious here, which is going to be a topic of a deep dive, but US Open obviously they have Wilson there. They have a longstanding relationship with Polo Ralph Lauren. And so Wilson and Ralph Lauren have, pretty big presences in the US Open, on the US Open campus. They sponsor all the ball boys outfits. I'm curious if there's almost an element of these brands coming in and being like, hey, we're kind of like the fashion providers here. We're the merch providers. So we'll make stuff that looks hot, and you guys like, you can sell stuff, but like, know your place a little bit. I wonder if there's any of that, or if I'm just trying to find some justification for why the US Open merch.
Find some justification. So so one of the brands I work with does merch for a big festival in Texas. Another one was just doing merch for like Lollapalooza. Like there's a bunch of us that are like, I've worked on projects for stuff like this before. There are tons of freelance creative directors, art directors, designers who do stuff like this, who get hired all the time to do these. And that's why you see like some of these collections actually be kind of fire, and like, and have like sometimes have viral items. And it does seem like, look, I mean, for lack of like, I don't know if you guys saw, like Steph Curry was going viral wearing a Siegelman stable hat, right? Like in this last like few days, and like everyone was in that booth, right? They had a bunch of influencers in that right booth. Like, I don't know, just grab them. Just do one limited edition thing that's tight. Grab whoever. Like, just need one collab brand, one whatever. Just cut them any reasonable size check to go make a couple it items. Is like very easy, especially when you're someone like the Open. And then also, like, I think the one thing these people look at is they assume that someone's going to come in and cut them the check. Like Wilson's going to say, we're going to do the merch this year. Here's $500,000. But I think that a lot of brands are less privy to doing that right now, because they're better off doing that without spending the money with influencers or collabs. And so I do think it's like the Open's job to go find those people to do with and not expect money from them. They expect it to be a money expense on their end to try to have an it item. And I think that they're just on the long end of the curve.
Yeah, and I would say, like, you know, based on some experience, you may have, I just don't know that, like, maybe Ralph Lauren would definitely be qualified to do a big like retail front, but it seems like they're doing this more of like a brand presence play down on the court.
I don't think any of the brands are looking to do that right now. Like I would put up, if I was a smaller brand, would I put up a 10 by 10 at the Open if it was a reasonable price? Like, sure, all day.
Totally.
But would I much rather have the Open be like, hey, cool, design 4 things for us, you know, and we're going to put them in production. Here's your design fee or whatever, is like a way better look. But it is funny. One of the things I actually remember, so one of the other brands I work with, this women's wear brand that work with really closely, we got approached by a festival to do a bunch of merch. And it was one of those where, like, we put in all this work, we do all these designs, and at the end they're like, okay, well, we want you guys to buy the inventory. And it's like no, why would we ever do that? Right? Like why are we putting out the cost? Like, there's so many of these that still think they can throw that weight around in a world where it's like, cool, to Ashwin's point here, like the US Open is going to sell some merch, but like, they're not going to have a viral item out of this. The items aren't going to be that hot. They're not going to get worn as much. People are not thinking about the repercussions of what if that was the case and it was a hot item and they were getting worn a bunch and people were talking about it. And they just, if you haven't adapted to that and learned that that's more important than like making everyone else pay for your shit, then I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. And I bet you the US Open themselves, which it looked like most of those hats were actually branded for the US Open, that this is their like retail cash grab play where they're just like, hey, y'all are coming, you're going to buy this souvenir crap no matter what. And Chris says there's got to be 10
Chris
million.
Says, surely there's 10 million in the US Open tote bag game. Like totally. There's 1000% 10 million, or there's at least whatever in inside the like overall merchandising collection. And especially, look, they should just look at what happened with Wilson and the vintage tennis collection. And I mean, like, and look, the surefire no-brainer wins every time play for the next like 24 months at least is we re-released the US Open merch from 1997, item for item, straight up. And it's like, guess what? We didn't even have to do any work. You know, and it's like,
all right, Ashwin, what else did you see?
Yeah, so we'll pull up. Let me see here. Okay,
there it is.
So obviously a bunch of activation sampling. You saw a lot of alcohol brands out there. I thought this was especially clever and just good from La Roche. They had this little booth where this woman is just handing out, you know, free samples of sunscreen. It was a sunny day. Makes a lot of sense. Everyone was taking them. You know, straightforward and great. I think, you know, as I think about this and like, I think about this, obviously La Roche, absolutely massive brand, spending a lot to be at the US Open. I know they brought out some influencers and like paid them a lot there. But even if, as I think about a booth like this and some of the versatility of it as a smaller brand, like you're still going to pay, you know, maybe a couple $1,000 maybe to like get a kind of branded booth like this, you know, at least, you know, $2 to $5,000. But you have this thing on wheels. You have this interesting opportunity for sampling. You have this like pretty nice booth that has this like call to action at the bottom, free sunscreen sample. You can take a picture of this. You know, if you have storage for it or you can kind of put it somewhere, this seems like something so easy that you can just pull around to various places. I mean, for some of my brands, I've done like sampling in Washington Square Park or on the West Side Highway or in these like high traffic areas. If you have an asset like this makes it just so much easier for you to show up in places without having to pay a US Open bill to do sampling there. It's like, great, let's take this out to the pier one day on a sunny day and just like hand out samples of product. And, you know, looks a lot nicer than a traditional booth with a tent. Seems pretty self-contained. Honestly, I'm talking myself into figuring out how to get one of these made.
Yeah. How are you? When is Oklahoma Smokes got one?
I was
You
gonna
can
say,
hotbox
can it be big Schwinnebago? Like it's just a giant Schwinnebago? No, all right.
Should be a giant Winnebago that you come in and you can smoke and hang out.
It's like what if it was like a tiny house Winnebago thing? I guess Winnebagos were actually the tiny house before tiny houses were a thing.
No, but a really tiny Winnebago that just has Ashwinn inside. But I like the hot box, like the CBD hot box. Like you get in and someone's just blowing clothes in your face for like 10 minutes.
Honestly, yeah. We'll
but this is a good idea for a small brand. You are looking to learn how to activate, and you don't want to pay for a bunch of 10 by 10s or whatever. And I'm thinking about this decent because I'm doing Complex Con with Valuables, and we're doing like a booth and the whole thing, and like getting siding and getting stuff. And I've been looking at that like almost let's be like, okay, what can we do that's a repeatable experience? And so like we're getting walls, we're getting like these like pop-up racks, and it's like, all right, can I have that live in my studio when it's not there so I can like film with it? And like really think how do you justify these costs across like multiple things? And something like this is a great example. I actually really like that like window on the front too that's like transparent with the color. That's sick.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
So you're doing Complex Con, Oren?
Yeah, we are. We're displaying. We're actually going to do a really interesting thing. So I'm going with my manufacturer because I obviously don't have like a big team to staff it. We're doing like a 10 by 20 booth, and so we're going to do like here's all the stuff, and then if you want to make the stuff, and so we have like so basically it's like there'll be like 4 sections there that are like here's all your info on cloth, here's all your info on leather, here's all your trims, and so like basically. Because like obviously all the stuff I do is very open source, so like I'll be promoting the brand, I'll sell the products, whatever. And Complex Con this year, the reason I made the jump is it's Cactus Con, it's like the Travis Scott Complex Con, and it's in Las Vegas. And I was like, cool, completely new demographic. Travis Scott's the creative director, he's the headliner. It's gonna have a huge demographic of those kids in there. I'm very curious to see if my products resonate at all inside that demo. I'm dropping some stuff, hopefully specifically for it, like a bunch of this winter stuff and like denim and shit. And and I think it's just gonna be a really cool experience to document. It's like not that crazy from a cost perspective. I'll make some really good content out of it. And then obviously I'm looking at it from the B2B perspective too, that like, hey, if we can get some leads for this manufacturer, then like that's a positive, as well. And we were just designing, we're doing swag, we're doing like a tech pack notebook. So like you open it up and you can like go sketch inside and it has a bunch of those in there. It'll be fun.
Dude, is this
we're trade showing
Superline or who's the partner?
It's Crease Group, who I do on there.
Crease Group, yeah, that's right. Okay, I've seen your
who make the majority of my stuff, and I've been doing a bunch of content with. But which is great. Like that's a symbiotic relationship. I hope everyone like if I'm you want to make content with people and collab posts with people, right? And like do interesting things. Yeah. But like having someone where I'm like, hey, find me color changing whatever, and they're like a week later, some guy is like the most useful thing like for like a content making like whatsoever. It's a very symbiotic relationship.
Perfect synergy there. Well, Ashwinn and I are available to come on brand trips for.
If you guys want to come out to Complex Con, I am trying to do the Valuable 1000 here before the end of the year, where we're going to go rally car and have all the boys come. I have a location in mind. This brand is just an excuse for me to do hot shit. Yeah.
Dude, the rally. Speaking of like 90s with our Sizzler kickoff, the movie of the Race Across America with John Candy. Do y'all remember this? Where they do like they do the rally. I forget what it was, but it was always like my dream. And you hear those like stories or the documentary, the guy who like tried to set the record from New York to LA and, had the radar detectors and the blockers, and they've got like radios to try to, flag any speed traps. But that's definitely the dream, bro. I'm totally in on the Valuable 1000. Keep it.
Yeah, we're coming together. Have a tentative place. We will. We'll see. But yeah, this is what happens. This is what happens when I get an experimental brand. Is we're doing rally car racing. And then last said someone had a question for me here, and we'll pop to this next category. But someone's asking why I don't stream on this YouTube anymore. And look, just some creator behind the scenes. Like I was posting a lot on YouTube. I was doing twice a week, and I was streaming, and the views were falling. I think it was just too much in the feed for people, and so now I'm just going back to like one a week. I want everyone to watch. And then I'll pop these on here, like when we're doing like a special one. This actually probably leads into our next combo about what we're doing with HubSpot. But like when we're doing like a banger or something like once a month, I'm gonna try and build it up and stream on there. And then once I'm like back with some momentum on YouTube, I will pop these on there as well. I think Spaces is still our biggest niche on this. Like more people watch on Twitter Spaces than anything else. But this is the kind of stuff like you kind of agonize a bit about as a creator, right? Of like, all right, am I doing too much? Am I doing too little? Is this impacting my views? Is something we're rolling on. But that might be a good conversation to have, that all three of us will be in person in Boston doing an end of year version of this with HubSpot. And so we will be kind of providing some more info. I don't know if you guys have anything else you want to add around that, or how deep we want to talk about it.
Yeah, we're gonna do an event in HubSpot. We're gonna do an event in Boston when we're there, kind of meet up. So if you're in Boston, September 18th to the 20th, we'll be putting out more details, probably sharing it, on Instagram, Twitter. But yeah, we'll be doing something there. So if you're based there, we hope to see you guys.
Yeah, so we'll be at HubSpot Inbound, and we'll be filming like a pilot, basically, of like if we wanted to do this more as a podcast, like on a network with HubSpot. And then we have like a set and like all the stuff that will be happening there. And we'll be kind of creating content like from Inbound. But that's going to be interesting because we basically think that, we've been thinking a lot about, do we want to have this weekly? Do we want to be doing as like a monthly thing? What does that look like? But what the theme for this one that we're going to get excited about, and obviously DM us or tag us if you have ideas. We're going to put some polls out. We're doing kind of like our best, worst of the year. And then our like tactics going into next year is like the big thing we're going to be doing there with HubSpot. And so it's kind of a good opportunity to like highlight brand campaigns and merchandise and collabs and copy and all these things that we like, and call out some big brands and little brands. So we really want to highlight like inside that format. And then we'll do kind of this big to do with HubSpot. And then we're trying to test like a formatted version of this as well, where we're in real life. So we'll see if we get it done there. Do we want to talk about that, or do we want to keep that under wraps?
Sure. I mean,
I talk about everything. So,
but yeah,
so
totally. I mean, by the way, guys, we do need to get them our headshots. Right now, they've got these placeholders of Ryan Reynolds and Serena Williams.
Exactly.
So I know they're just waiting on us for the headliners. Yeah, totally. No, I think that, one of the interesting things that I think we were even joking about at the beginning of this was like, we can't go to a retail location without doing complete meta-analysis. And so we're going to do some retail run concepts of going in, whether it's luxury stores or CPG or, massive Dick's Sporting Goods, and walk people through, best practices, things we would do different. And then, marketing and branding, interesting elements in cities, whether that's agencies, brands. So y'all let us know what you think it would be interesting or what you want from this, because we're trying to formalize it. We know we've got something here, and we're trying to, test things, which is the important.
So basically, starting with Boston, we're going to do a little informal city guides, like from a branding perspective, where we go share some of the cool places to go, some of the more visit some interesting friends, and then the retail concept, like you mentioned, like go in there and critique packaging and have some fun together. That kind of takes us into the street. That won't be like the format every week. We're still going to stay pretty consistent with this, but we're hoping like once a quarter or once a month we can do kind of this little more interesting like in-person version. And look, I think the real reason for this, I think, and might be interesting for anyone watching, is if you do recurring content out there on YouTube or on whatever, it's all about formats, right? Like it's all about like, you think about Hot Ones, you think about, Boys Room or whatever the name of that one is. Like these recurring things that like people want to come for a thing and know what to expect in an episode, almost thinking of it like TV. This is obviously a version. We look at what we're doing here as kind of like the sports center of marketing, where it's like, hey, you got a couple bros, maybe a guest, talking about the things that happened that week, making some jokes, having some personality, and like highlighting highlights basically. But then having like an in-person one where like, hey, we don't want to just get together and yap. We want to have like a reason. And so I think structuring it a bit around travel is going to be exciting. I'm obviously in LA, so whenever we get Jordan and Ashwinn there, I think Ashwinn and I are actually together like multiple weeks in a row, because we got this Google event the week after. So, if Jordan makes it out to New York, Jordan, if you want to consider becoming a business-to-business influencer, we could probably get a lot of this really coordinated really well. But
indeed, yeah, I'm working on my B2B strategy.
Taylor,
he's looking for his AI for workspace rollout plan.
Taylor, unfortunately, just wants the yapping. He doesn't want the tours.
That's fine. We'll be doing plenty of yapping inside inside retail establishments and whatnot too. I can't wait to see us get kicked out of like a Dick's Sporting Goods. It's going to be like a 10 out of 10 experience. Yeah.
I'm going to be suspended on some climbing wall somewhere, and you guys will be escorted. I'm like, guys, help, please.
Yeah, Jordan is like, he's rearranging a mannequin. He's like, you can't put the Travis Kelce jersey on the. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, come on.
New Balance needs to align the end cap. Like I'm re-merchandising Feastables. All right, sorry. Let's go on to the next.
Style as a service. Well played, Chris.
That's a project I have that's using that for something. That's funny.
There we go. I was intrigued by this Chanel fragrance diner that you brought up, Oren. I hadn't seen this, and I think this is really interesting.
Is this in Williamsburg? I think I know exactly what this is.
Williamsburg Diner, it looks like. The Lucky Chance Diner.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting. Like, we've obviously seen all these pop-ups and experiences. And this is one shout out Sai if he's in the chat or not. But I have someone who's in the chat with these previous weeks being like, let me help you curate, is now like helping me find cool stuff to talk about. And this is one of the ones he grabbed. But the this idea that like you can do a pop-up brand activation is tight. And obviously we've seen, Jacquemus, luxury brands do like fancy ones, but like Chanel doing a diner and doing like a fragrance diner is like an interesting, I feel like it's got this like in between of like what a more normal brand versus a more luxury brand would do. But I think they killed it. I think it's a really cool, interesting concept. Obviously cost them a ton. That's interesting and curious what y'all think. Perfect for Instagram.
It's freaking beautiful. Ashwinn, have you been by? Have you seen it? This looks like a rendering, this top one.
Yeah, I have not seen it, and I need to go check it out. Yeah, I know exactly where this is. What is the idea here? Like, what in there? Is there anything remotely related to Chanel, or is it just like, hey, we're gonna put?
Well, it's all fragrances, right? So everything. It's a fragrance diner.
Fragrances in there.
Yeah, so it's a fragrance diner. Everything you see in there is for a fragrance. You're going in there, sitting at the counter, and getting like fragrance served. So it is like extremely Chanel and very conceptual.
Well, it's beautiful. Absolutely made for Instagram. To your point,
I like these concepts of doing one thing in another. Like the Baez did the luggage wash, what it was like a car wash, but for your luggage, and you kind of come through and you bring your base luggage and you go through the run through. I was like, okay, like I love the idea. There's just something I think like that cognitive dissonance that you get when you're scrolling, or like even like what Ashwinn just experienced, and he was like, oh, it's a fragrance diner, right? It's like you kind of get that idea hits. I do love that for like when you're doing brand experiences like this.
Yeah, and I think when you get something so shareable and you just have like a one night, I was looking at all these images of the celebrities who were there. You can literally have them there for 20 minutes. You get a flash photo of Lil Nas X, and then this thing like lives on in infamy forever. But when you have such striking visuals, it works and lasts for a long time. And then everybody now has to get this photo, when they come through.
Yeah, and fragrance is interesting. And fragrance is obviously high margin. Obviously, there's not like a ton. But like I am inundated with fragrance PR, and I don't know how even some of these people like they don't even ask anymore. So people just got my PO box, but it's like I get a YSL fragrance in the mail like every month. I get like Armani. Yeah. YSL is I'm on like 3 YSL lists. I think our Ashwinn has the same. I know Zach Kravitz has the same. He's like, why am I getting triple cent YSL? But like they just are shipping, which is an interesting. Has made me think a lot about that category, because obviously they're like desperate for support, but there's not. I understand there's not the economics to like pay for that, because like how many people are really buying Acqua di Gio off of my Instagram stories. But like it's a really interesting complicated category that now obviously there's a million boutique brands playing into, because the barrier of entry is pretty low. And curious I'm curious to learn more about that. We should get a fragrance expert on at some point.
Someone was talking to me about fragrance, and then just why all these luxury houses get into fragrance, and the idea is just for an audience that can't afford the Chanel bag or YSL bag. This is just their entry point into like that brand universe. They can spend $60 on fragrance or $80 on fragrance, which
it's the rude hat of the fragrance world.
yeah, rude short, or that's super clever. I mean, because the thing with fragrance, so normal seating, which I love, and I still think is underrated, even though it's done so much. But like if you get
seating works so fucking well. I'm sorry, I'm seating a ton right now. I'm sending stuff out, and the sales just keep coming in. It's great.
It's crazy. I mean, you think about the single item, a hat or a shirt, of what it costs you versus the cost of impressions that you'll get for the people, and you like run those numbers, and it's so easy. And it's like, if you just get the thing that someone like generally might want, and they might wear it, then you're going to get that logo placement and that exposure constantly, whether it's in real life or in content. People like us who are making content every day, and we're nobody compared to the Steph Currys of the world who show up at the U.S. Open with the hat. And so Saksham, yes, we reply. Let us know.
What's the next one in there?
The fragrance, though, I was just going to say, is like a hard thing for seating, because like you get that one moment of like sharing it to your story, but then after that, what are you going to do? Because it's not something that you can see; it's a smell. So unless you're just out bopping around at the U.S. Open and people go, Ashwinn, you smell so good. Please tell me, what is that fragrance? then it gets a little bit harder. What else do we want to hit this week? Hold on, I've got a list. We've got J. Crew, we've got Fugazi, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, we just pop the Fugazi one up really briefly. We can hit that because that's interesting for two reasons. So this was interesting to me because this brand, like they're a kind of notorious. They have a bunch of notorious product, like viral products, and like do a lot of viral styles. But they had a lot of their team, a bunch of staff, shave their head for this release, which I thought was particularly interesting. Like this idea that like your whole team is characters like in your brand story is something I've always kind of thought a lot about. And then obviously brands that like where they really are like a small team and like kind of like a cult and like really want to embrace that. And like you look at like represent employees, I feel kind of like that. Like there's some like brands where obviously the brand ethos like really crosses over to the team. I thought was really interesting. But even funnier on that, and maybe go to their like Instagram post on it. They have a Luxottica flip. Like so, obviously the name Fugazi like there has the like fake and dupe connotations, right? But they're like on the sunglass design themselves. Yeah, that's a Luxottica logo flip, which I thought was hilarious. And Luxottica is the house that owns like every major sunglass brand. I do love that idea of just like re-grabbing this, like, for the streets, for lack of a better term, which is very like in line with this brand's ethos. So not a ton to comment on there, but that was a fun one worth sharing.
Yeah, and your SEO is doing great because I was trying to look this up and you're the main source. So
I'm born here. Yeah. I was doing creator search insight, TikTok keyword research on Content Gap, and like I was like, oh, I'm the number.
Was there one on Fugazi?
Yeah, not on TikTok, but on this is if you search them on Google now because I tweeted it and used the right words, I'm in there.
Yep. It is a really clever. I do appreciate those little logo flips.
And so how do we feel about logo flips in general? Obviously, this brand is built around like the whole name from the concept is kind of like everything is iterative of itself. Like in this like kind of dupe flip world. How do we feel about that? People doing logo flips in general.
Well, it's the foundation of streetwear, and I think it's just I see, but it's such a weird. We're in such a weird place now, where there's so much online critique all day long that sometimes people are like, oh, did they rip this or did they pull that? And it's like, well, that's kind of the point. I mean, that's what we've been doing since the beginning of all this, and I think it sometimes worked better years ago on a t-shirt that you just showed up and saw in real life versus then like just JPEG pixels on the internet. And so, I don't know. We're in a weird place right now, the chronically online, as we were joking about.
What I think we really need some brands that are at the intersection of streetwear and luxury. I don't know if anyone has any ideas like that, but that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
I'm doing. This is sarcasm, if anyone.
Yes, it's being done. Yeah. It's being done every week.
What we got next? Any brand trips? I know, Ashwinn, you were at the Recharge Lounge in gorgeous Wyoming or Arkansas or wherever you were last week.
Yeah, I was at the Recharge. I was at the Recharge retreat. Let me talk about that for a second because people often DM me and they're like, hey, do you see any B2B marketing that's like really good or really interesting? And for the most part, nothing ever catches my eye. There's some interesting out-of-home campaigns that I've come across that have been kind of like moments in time, but nothing all too great. But then, so I went on this brand trip, retreat for Recharge. And for anyone who's not familiar with Recharge, Recharge is a subscription app that powers subscription on Shopify. So if you purchase a product, they have an option for subscribe and save. It's, more likely than not that Recharge powers that. So something that they're doing as a campaign that just launched, let me share this, is called the Recharge Brand Challenge. And so the Recharge Brand Challenge is, okay, so they're giving away a couple things. They're giving away $100,000 in cash, $50,000 in funding. They're paying for a team retreat up to $50,000 in value, and then a trip to what they're calling the big race in Italy next year, probably because they just can't say F1 for whatever rights. So this is a campaign that they're launching, and how you enter this is that if you are a brand that sells online and you have Recharge as a subscription provider, over the next 6 months, your goal is to grow your subscriber base as large as possible and retain as much of that subscriber base as possible. And there's like some fine-tuned details of how exactly they're measuring that. But they are looking at brands in 3 categories. So an established brand, a kind of like middle market brand, and an emerging brand. And there's going to be a winner in each one of these tiers. And so it's really a competition for brands to be thinking about, a brand already has recharge implemented. They're like, okay, we're already driving traffic. Like, how could we implement, flows, marketing, experiences, activations to better retain our customers or grow that subscription base itself? So I think this is pretty interesting because they are incentivizing you towards a goal that your business should be incentivized to grow, period, right? Like, you do this challenge, it's not something that's like wasting your time as a company. It's like, hey, if net after 6 months, we have a growth in our subscription base by 60%, like that, most of the time, that's going to be like a very good thing for your business. So I think this is pretty interesting what they're doing here. They've had a bunch of signups just after launch. I'm going to do a video on this, but I think this is like a great campaign for what is otherwise like.
Yeah, and this is one, and if they can really reach all their existing customers and like pound into it that this exists, right? Because I think awareness is the hardest part of this, and this is a great example. And it's funny, it seems very inspired by what's happening with TikTok Shop Affiliate right now. Like, I don't know if you guys are following like the goalie thing or what Rob's doing with Top Shelf, but it's like they're giving away like, hey, you want to win a Rolls Royce? Like, you want to win a Rolex? You want to do and like these kids are winning it who generate like X GMV on TikTok Shop are like getting massive cash prizes, like, Chrome Hearts. Like it's really sick, but it's kind of giving this new like incentive of like, help yourself, help us. You're getting money and you're getting these prizes. Like, everything's super incentivized now. Whereas I think like a lot of the incentives like broke down prior. Like, everyone was like, they just want you to participate. And then like TikTok Shop Affiliate showed like, hey, guess what? What if you just gamify making money on the internet? And everyone's like, especially Gen Z, are just like, run it. It's a very interesting time.
I am.
And if you are a brand in B2B, that's how to think about it.
I'm fascinated with TikTok Shop personally. But
I got my first TikTok Shop orders this week, and they need to fulfill by the end of the day today. And I have like tickets out to the fulfillment center, and I'm very like, fucking don't want violations.
So go ahead.
On that quick point on TikTok Shop, I think something that is absolutely crazy, especially if you're not in that world, is on TikTok Shop from the admin side. If you have a brand that sells product on TikTok Shop, you can search all creators in every category who sell products on TikTok. And you can see how much GMV they drive, as well as how much they have made, like their estimated commissions. And it's like, you see these people who are making quite literally hundreds of thousands of dollars a month in commissions. And I'll go watch their videos and I'm like, they are so good at like the hooks, at the storytelling. And it's like, they tend to be products that are like, $20 to $50. There's a clear before and after. Like this Alex Earl Light was going viral for a long time. Like this water flosser, coconut oil pulling. So there's products that are primed for it versus others. But it is stunning how these people who are like, 20 years old, they were like, oh, I was working at Chipotle last month, and now I make more than 99% of people in 1 month.
Yeah, more than the new Chipotle CEO. We'll see. What's GMV for the people, Ashwinn, who are new to this?
Just like your gross merchandise volume, like just the amount that you're selling through the platform. So how many raw dollar product did you sell?
I know in Boston we're going to discuss TikTok Shop further about the future, but I'm absolutely fascinated with it, and I've debated basically just starting a company to be early to that, because when you can align basically incentive, like you talked about here with the recharge, when you're aligning incentives, you have an algorithm that is incentivized to find an audience. So you have creators who have the barrier of entry of creation has gotten so much lower. The algorithm is incentivized to find people in that niche, not only to get them to engage with the content so people will stay on the platform, but now also they are a seller. So they have not only selling ads and attention that they're trying to get, but they also then have actual products that they're trying to sell and get a commission on in a large, competition to go up against Amazon. And if you've looked at, I sat with a investor guy a while back and was talking about, what they did over in China and how they're now basically coming for Amazon, and it is absolutely absolutely wild what they were able to do over there, and now what's probably happening here. And then some of the second order effects will be really interesting. But I personally, I ordered the sunflower seeds. We'll talk about this, but I'm just fascinated by the sunflower seed brand. It's a small ticket item. It's baseball, like very specific. I don't know if there's anybody who actually buys sunflower seeds who don't play baseball or attend baseball games. And, products like that, I think absolutely hit. But the before and after, you're right, is also super, super wild. All right. Before we head out, I did a partnership to shout out one of my favorite brands today, Manners Golf. They're incredible. Wearing one of their new polos. I'm really fascinated by this brand. They're based in the UK, and the US is a big market, but they have leaned into what they are, not what they aren't. They have like creative directors, a couple of their founders, so they do like really beautiful video content. They lean into the fact that they're kind of a lot of younger bachelors, and they go on these just trips, and so they make like a great spectacle of all of their content. And then they partner with people who are just outside of like a golf vertical. And I think people could learn from this. Like too often we go, oh, I'm in golf or I'm in basketball. I'm going to go to the top sport performance person or the person with the highest audience. And there's actually like maybe person one step over, like a former professional athlete in soccer or football who now plays golf all the time, or a commentator or actors or big YouTubers who are not necessarily golf YouTubers, but they have a big audience and they love the game. And that's some of the strategy that these guys are doing. And it's just really inspiring to see. I went with them to Scotland in March, and it was amazing. They're a small crew, but they partner up with like the right people, both camera and video. And it's been pretty inspiring to watch. I think a lot of brands could learn from them.
Yeah, that looks great.
They are. All right, gents. Any other items before we head out?
No, I think we call it. We'll drop more info about this HubSpot stuff coming up here soon. Appreciate everyone joining. We had a ton of people joining here today. It's like 680 or whatever it is right now for Spaces, LinkedIn, et cetera. So let's stoked on having you all here, and we will continue to be back as we do it. Thank you.
No doubt. All right, y'all. Thanks so much. Have a great week.